Fleet Admiral Zorak stood on the bridge of his massive ship, the Eternal Claw. His scaled skin gleamed under the soft blue lights as he stared at the holographic image of Earth floating before him. The small blue planet looked peaceful and unaware of what was coming. "Such a primitive world," Zorak said, his voice deep and cold. "They have barely reached their own moon." Commander Vex approached and bowed slightly. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The invasion force awaits your command." Zorax nodded slowly. The Draconian Empire had conquered 17 star systems without any real challenge. Earth would be the D-18th. The humans had no idea that aliens even existed, let alone that a fleet of 200 warships was about to attack them. "Begin the approach," Zorax ordered. "Position half our forces over their major cities. The rest will target military installations." Across the vast emptiness of space, the Draconian Armada moved as one. Each ship was a marvel of technology, built by a civilization thousands of years more advanced than Earth. Their dark hulls absorbed light rather than reflecting it, making them appear like moving shadows against the stars. Inside the lead ship, Zorax reviewed the data on humans one last time. They were fragile creatures with short lives. They fought among themselves over territory and resources. They would be easy to conquer. "They will make good slaves," he said to no one in particular. In Washington, D.C., President Samantha Collins was working late in the Oval Office when her phone rang. She picked it up, expecting another political crisis. Instead, what she heard made her blood run cold. "Madam President," said the voice of Frank Murphy, her Director of National Security. "NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station has detected multiple objects entering our solar system. They're massive and they're moving fast in formation." Samantha stood up, suddenly very alert. "Natural objects?" "No, ma'am. They're changing direction. They're ships, Madam President. And they're heading straight for us." Within an hour, Samantha sat in the Situation Room surrounded by her top military advisors. The room was tense as satellite images appeared on the main screen. "These photos were taken by our space telescope 20 minutes ago," General Richard Hayes explained, pointing to dark shapes moving against the stars. "Each of these objects is approximately the size of an aircraft carrier." "How many?" Samantha asked quietly. "We've counted 217 so far." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and their first contact was going to be an invasion. "What are our options?" Samantha finally asked. The Joint Chiefs exchanged uncomfortable glances. Admiral William Porter spoke up first. "Our missiles cannot reach that far into space, Madam President. We have no weapons designed to fight enemies from beyond our atmosphere." "Then we need to warn the public," Samantha decided. "People have a right to know what's coming." In a small town in Nevada, Dr. Alan Winters drove his old truck down a lonely desert road. The radio was playing music when it suddenly cut out, replaced by the emergency broadcast signal. "This is not a test," said a serious voice. "The President of the United States will address the nation in 5 minutes regarding a matter of extreme national importance." Alan frowned and pulled over to the side of the road. He had worked for NASA for 15 years before starting his own research. He had always believed aliens existed, but no one had taken his theories seriously. He listened as President Collins explained the situation to the nation. Strange vessels had entered Earth's solar system. They were not responding to attempts at communication. All citizens were advised to remain calm and stay in their homes. As the broadcast ended, Alan's phone rang. It was Olivia Gray, his research assistant. "Did you hear?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I heard," Alan replied. "I think it's time to test our project." For the past 5 years, Alan and a small team had been developing experimental defense technology based on unusual energy patterns they had discovered. Most of the scientific community had dismissed their work as nonsense. Now, it might be humanity's only hope. "Meet me at the lab in 30 minutes, Alan said, starting his truck again. As night fell across the United States, people gathered in homes and public spaces, eyes turned toward the sky. News channels showed footage from around the world as strange lights appeared in the atmosphere. In New York City, crowds filled Times Square, watching the giant screens that normally showed advertisements. Now they displayed live feeds from news helicopters capturing the arrival of the Draconian ships. Lucy Garcia stood in the crowd, holding her phone up to record the historical moment. She had been shopping when the news broke, and now found herself among thousands of strangers, all united in fear and wonder. "Oh my God," someone near her whispered. "They're really here." The Draconian ships moved silently through Earth's atmosphere, massive shadows blocking out the stars. They positioned themselves above major cities around the world: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo. On the Eternal Claw, Zorax watched with satisfaction as his fleet took their positions. "Begin the intimidation phase," he commanded. "Activate the city-wide scanning beams." From the bottom of each Draconian ship, powerful blue lights switched on, casting eerie beams down onto the cities below. The purpose was to scan for weapons and to strike fear into the hearts of the humans. In the Nevada desert, Alan's research facility was a humble collection of buildings that looked more like storage units than a scientific laboratory. But beneath, the simple exterior lay cutting-edge equipment that he and his team had built with private funding. Olivia met him at the door, her face pale with worry. "The others are already inside. We've been monitoring the ships since they entered the atmosphere." Inside, 3 other scientists worked frantically at computer stations. The main room was dominated by a strange device that resembled a satellite dish connected to a series of copper coils. "Is the emitter ready?" Alan asked, moving to a control panel. "As ready as it will ever be," replied Ben Clark, the team's engineer. "But Alan, even if it works, this is just one device. It won't be enough to stop an entire alien fleet." Alan nodded grimly. "I know. But if I'm right about the energy signature, we might not be the only ones who built these. There could be others who discovered the same thing we did." He typed a series of commands into the computer. The device hummed to life, the copper coils beginning to glow with a soft blue light. "Activating now," Alan said. "Let's hope we're not alone in this fight." As the device powered up, none of them knew that across the globe, in secret facilities and hidden bunkers, in rural barns and urban basements, similar machines were also coming to life. Humanity had been preparing for this day without even knowing. The invasion of Earth had begun. But the Draconians were about to learn that this seemingly primitive planet held secrets even they could not imagine. The Draconian ships hung in Earth's sky like giant shadows. Their dark metal bodies blocked out stars and moonlight. On the streets below, people looked up with fear and wonder. Some ran for shelter, while others stood frozen, taking photos and videos of humanity's first contact with aliens. Inside the Eternal Claw, Fleet Admiral Zorax received the first reports from his scout ships. He frowned as he read the information on his screen. "Sir," said Commander Vex, "the initial scans show unusual energy readings from the planet's surface." "What kind of energy?" Zorax asked. "Unknown, Admiral. Nothing we've seen before. It doesn't match any technology we've encountered in our previous conquests." Zorax dismissed this with a wave of his clawed hand. "These humans are primitives. They've barely mastered basic space travel. Whatever defenses they have will not stop us." He turned to his communication officer. "Send the first wave of ground forces. Let's show these humans the might of the Draconian Empire." From the belly of 30 Draconian warships, smaller vessels emerged. These landing craft, each carrying 50 Draconian soldiers, descended toward Earth's surface. Their target? Major military installations around the globe. In the Pentagon, General Richard Hayes watched the radar screens with growing alarm. The alien ships were deploying smaller craft, and they were heading straight for military bases. "Get me the president," he ordered. Moments later, President Collins appeared on the main screen, her face tense but composed. "They're sending landing parties, Madam President," Hayes reported. "We're tracking multiple targets heading for our bases." "What are our options?" she asked. "We've scrambled fighter jets, but I don't know how effective they'll be against this." "Technology. I recommend we activate Protocol Omega." Protocol Omega was a last resort measure, authorizing military commanders worldwide to use any means necessary to defend their positions. "Do it." the president said grimly. As the Draconian landing craft entered Earth's lower atmosphere, something strange began to happen. Inside each ship, instruments flickered and warning lights flashed. Navigation systems malfunctioning, reported a pilot to his commander. I'm experiencing interference. Similar reports came from all landing craft. Their precision guidance systems, capable of pinpoint landings on any terrain, were suddenly unreliable. Some ships veered off course while others struggled to maintain stable flight. Then, more alarmingly, communication systems between the landing craft and the main fleet began to fail. On the Eternal Claw, Zorax listened with growing concern as contact with one landing craft after another was lost. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," replied his science officer. "The interference is growing stronger. It appears to be coming from multiple locations on the planet's surface." In Nevada, Dr. Alan Winters watched his equipment readings with growing excitement. The emitter was working better than he had dared to hope. The strange energy field it produced was interfering with the alien technology. "Look at these readings," Olivia said, pointing to a screen filled with data. "The field is somehow adapting to their technology, finding weaknesses and exploiting them. But how is it affecting ships all around the world?" asked Ben. "Our emitter doesn't have that kind of range." Alan smiled. "Because we're not alone. Look at this." He typed commands into his computer, and a global map appeared on the main screen. Dozens of points of light glowed across every continent. These are energy signatures identical to ours, other emitters, activating all over the world. "But who built them?" Olivia asked, confused. "People like us," Alan replied. "Throughout history, certain individuals must have discovered the same energy patterns we did. They built devices to harness it, passing down the knowledge through generations." In rural Iowa, Peter Johnson stood in his grandfather's barn, watching in amazement as an old device hummed to life. His grandfather had built it decades ago, claiming it would protect the earth when the time came. The family had kept it maintained out of respect, never really believing its purpose. Now copper coils glowed with blue energy, and Peter realized his grandfather hadn't been crazy after all. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In a temple in Tibet, monks gathered around an ancient artifact that had begun to emit a soft blue light. In the basement of a university in Brazil, a forgotten research project suddenly activated itself. In an Aboriginal sacred site in Australia, stones arranged in a precise pattern began to resonate with energy. Humanity's hidden defense system, built piece by piece over centuries without any central plan, was coming online. On the Eternal Claw, the situation was growing dire. Of the 30 landing craft deployed, 23 had gone completely silent. The remaining 7 reported critical system failures. "Recall all landing craft immediately," Zorax ordered. "Prepare the main fleet for direct intervention." But as the massive warships adjusted their positions, they too began experiencing strange effects. Critical systems fluctuated unpredictably. Weapon systems went offline and came back with reduced functionality. "Admiral," reported the science officer, "the energy field from the planet is intensifying. It's affecting our ship's quantum engines." Zorax stood at the command window, looking down at Earth with new respect and fear. This was not the easy conquest he had expected. "Launch all remaining fighters," he commanded. "Target the sources of this interference." From the Draconian ships, hundreds of smaller fighter craft emerged. They streaked toward Earth, moving faster than human jets could intercept. Their mission, to find and destroy the sources of the mysterious energy field. Dr. Alan Winters and his team worked frantically. To strengthen their emitter, they knew they were now targets. "The energy field is evolving," Olivia said, studying the readings. "It's learning from each interaction with their technology, almost like an immune system." "Can it stop their fighters?" Ben asked nervously. Before Alan could answer, their equipment detected a new development. The energy fields from the different emitters around the world were connecting, forming a network that covered the planet like an invisible web. "It's working together," Alan said in awe. "The fields are linking up, becoming stronger." As Draconian fighters entered Earth's atmosphere, they encountered this strengthened field. Some lost power completely and fell from the sky. Others spun out of control, their guidance systems hopelessly confused. From the Nevada facility, Alan sent an urgent message to the Pentagon, explaining what was happening. For the first time since the alien ships appeared, there was hope. The Draconian invasion had met an unexpected defense. Earth was fighting back in ways that the alien invaders could never have predicted, and this was just the beginning of the real battle for Earth. Fleet Admiral Zorax gripped the edge of his command console as another alarm blared through the eternal claw. His invasion was falling apart. The fighters he had sent to destroy the sources of interference were either lost or returning damaged. The energy field around Earth was growing stronger by the minute. "Admiral," his science officer reported, "we're detecting a change in the energy pattern. It's becoming more organized, more powerful." "How is this possible?" Zorax demanded. "These humans are primitives." "Unknown, sir, but the field is now affecting our main ships. Our shields are weakening." Zorax made a decision. He would not be defeated by a lesser species. "Prepare the main fleet for direct assault. We will use our planet-killer weapons." The planet-killer weapons were normally reserved for worlds that refused to surrender after conventional invasion failed. They could reduce cities to ash in seconds. Using them would damage the resources Zorax hoped to harvest from Earth, but he would not return to the Empire in defeat. "All ships, target major population centers," he ordered. "Fire on my command." In the Nevada research facility, Alan and his team detected the power surge in the alien fleet. "They're charging weapons," Olivia said, her voice shaking. "Massive energy readings from all their ships." Alan studied the data flowing across his screens. The network of emitters around the world had formed a protective field, but it might not be strong enough to stop a full-scale attack. "We need to strengthen the field," he said. "Send a message to everyone working with an emitter. Tell them to increase power to maximum." As the message went out, Alan noticed something odd in the readings. The energy field wasn't just defending, it was changing in response to the threat. The more aggressive the alien ships became, the more the field adapted. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a pattern in the data. "The field is targeting their weapons specifically now." On screens around the world, military and civilian observers watched as strange effects appeared around the Draconian ships. The air seemed to shimmer and bend around them, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. On the Eternal Claw, the weapons officer shouted in alarm. "Admiral, the weapons aren't responding. Power levels are fluctuating." Zorax slammed his fist down. "Override the safety protocols. Fire at will." Across the Draconian fleet, captains tried to fire their weapons. Some managed to launch energy beams toward Earth, but the beams dissipated before reaching their targets, absorbed by the invisible shield protecting the planet. "Admiral," the science officer called out, real fear in his voice now. "The energy field is intensifying. It's creating some kind of space-time distortion around our ships." Zorax looked out the viewport and saw it himself. Reality seemed to be bending around his fleet. The stars behind Earth appeared to shift position, and the space between his ships rippled like water. "What is happening?" he whispered. In Washington, D.C., President Collins and her advisors watched satellite imagery of the alien fleet. The ships appeared to be distorting, their outlines blurring. "What are we seeing?" she asked. Dr. Susan Meyer, a quantum physicist called in to advise the president, studied the images with wide eyes. "It looks like some kind of space-time manipulation. The field is bending reality around the ships." "Is it destroying them?" General Hayes asked. "Not exactly," Dr. Meyer replied. "It's more like it's removing them from our dimension." In the Nevada facility, Alan's equipment was registering unprecedented energy levels. The network of emitters had reached a critical point, creating effects that went beyond anything they had theorized. "The field isn't just blocking their technology," Alan said in amazement. "It's reacting to their hostile intent. It's creating pocket dimensions, like bubbles of space-time separate from our own." "What does that mean?" Ben asked. "It means the ships aren't being destroyed. They're being sealed away." On their monitors, they watched as the first of the Draconian ships seemed to fold inward. its massive form twisting in impossible ways before disappearing entirely. Not exploding, not breaking apart, simply vanishing. Around the world, people watched the same phenomenon. One by one, the alien vessels distorted and vanished from Earth's skies, leaving behind only brief flashes of blue-green light. On the Eternal Claw, chaos reigned. Zorax watched helplessly as his mighty fleet disappeared, ship by ship. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All remaining vessels leave this system immediately," but it was too late. The space-time distortion had reached his flagship. The walls of the command deck seemed to waver, solid metal becoming fluid. "What kind of weapon is this?" Zorax asked, no longer speaking to his crew but to the invisible force that had defeated him. The science officer, clinging to his station as the ship warped around him, looked at his final readings. "It's not a weapon, Admiral. It's a defense mechanism. The planet itself is rejecting us." As the Eternal Claw began to fold into itself, Zorax had a final realization. They had gravely underestimated this world. Earth was not primitive at all. It had evolved a protection that no other planet in the Empire had ever developed. The flagship twisted one final time before vanishing completely, leaving nothing behind but a brief aurora in Earth's upper atmosphere. In the Pentagon's command center, silence fell as the last alien ship disappeared from their screens. "Are they gone?" President Collins asked over the video link. General Hayes checked with his radar operators. "Yes, Madam President. All enemy ships have vanished from our detection systems." "Did we destroy them?" Hayes looked to Dr. Meyer, who shook her head. "Not destroyed," she explained. "Based on the readings we're getting, they've been sealed in pocket dimensions, bubbles of space-time separated from our reality. They still exist, but not in our universe anymore." The implications of this were staggering. Earth had not just repelled an invasion, it had done so in a way that no one could have predicted. In Nevada, Alan and his team were trying to understand what had happened. The network of emitters was still active, but the energy levels were decreasing now that the threat had passed. "We didn't build this," Alan said, looking at the data. "At least not entirely. We created the emitters, but the way they connected, the way they responded to the invasion, that was something else. Like the planet has its own immune system," Olivia suggested, "and we just helped activate it." Alan nodded slowly. "And now the rest of the galaxy knows about it. As news spread around the world that the alien threat had been neutralized, people emerged from shelters, looking up at skies that once again showed only stars and clouds. Earth had faced its first contact with an alien civilization, and had survived in a way that would change humanity's place in the cosmos, forever. The question now was, what would the rest of the galaxy think of a planet that could make an entire invasion fleet vanish without a trace? News of the Draconian fleet's disappearance spread quickly across the galaxy. The Empire had sent one of its largest invasion forces to conquer a supposedly primitive world, and none had returned. Not a single ship, not one distress signal, not even debris. It was as if 200 warships had simply ceased to exist. In the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation, representatives from over 50 advanced civilizations gathered for an emergency session. The huge circular hall hummed with nervous conversation as ambassadors discussed the shocking news. Ambassadress Neria of the Centauri Alliance stood at the central podium. Her tall, slender form and luminous blue skin commanded attention as she called the session to order. "We have confirmed reports that the 7th Fleet of the Draconian Empire has vanished while attempting to invade the planet known as Earth," she announced. "This unprecedented event requires our immediate attention." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Earth was barely known to most galactic powers. Humans had only recently developed basic space travel and had yet to discover faster-than-light technology. By all accounts, they should have been easy prey for the Draconians. The Draconian representative, Lord Krell, rose to speak next. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice carried an edge of anger. "The Empire demands an investigation into what happened to our fleet," he said. "We suspect interference from other galactic powers. No primitive species could defeat our advanced technology." Ambassador Gregory Weber, Earth's recently appointed representative listened quietly. Earth had been granted observer status in the Confederation just 3 months earlier, a courtesy that many galactic powers had opposed. Now all eyes turned to him as he stood to address the council. Weber was a former diplomat with a calm demeanor that hid a sharp mind. He straightened his simple blue uniform before speaking. "Distinguished representatives," he began, "my world has long been underestimated. While we may be newcomers to interstellar travel, we have developed in other ways." The chamber fell, silent, waiting for him to continue. "Earth has evolved natural defenses against threats. We did not destroy the Draconian fleet. We simply removed it from our reality when it showed hostile intent." The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. Several representatives demanded technical explanations, while others called for Earth to be quarantined as a danger to galactic stability. Ambassadress Neria raised her hand for silence. "Ambassador Weber, are you claiming that your planet possesses technology capable of dimensional manipulation on a planetary scale?" Weber smiled slightly. "Not exactly technology as you understand it. It's more of a planetary immune system that responds to threats, one that we've only just begun to understand ourselves." Across the stars, attitudes toward Earth changed dramatically. Intelligence agencies from various civilizations scrambled to reassess the mysterious planet. Military strategists urgently revised their evaluations of human capabilities. Trading companies suddenly became interested in establishing relations with Earth. On the draconian homeworld of Draconis Prime, Emperor Vexthor faced the most serious political crisis of his reign. The loss of such a significant military force, including several members of noble houses who had commanded vessels in the Armada, threatened to destabilize the entire empire. The emperor sat on his obsidian throne, surrounded by his remaining admirals and nobles. His scales had darkened with age, but his yellow eyes remained sharp and dangerous. "How could this happen?" he demanded. "How could our fleet be defeated by primitives?" Admiral Zen, now the senior fleet commander following Zorax's disappearance, stepped forward. "The reports we've gathered from our spy network suggest Earth has developed unique defensive capabilities. They appear to use dimensional technology that our sensors cannot detect." "And what of Zorax and our ships?" the Emperor asked. "Are they destroyed?" "Unknown, Your Majesty. The evidence suggests they still exist, but in pocket dimensions separate from normal space-time. They may be intact but unreachable." Emperor Vexthor considered this information carefully. The Draconian Empire had built its power through conquest and intimidation. If word spread that they had been defeated so completely by a supposedly primitive world, other conquered species might rebel. "Find out exactly what happened," he commanded his admirals. "But under no circumstances are any further forces to approach the Earth system until we understand what we're facing." He turned to his diplomatic corps. "Send envoys to Earth. Let us see if these humans can be reasoned with now that they have shown their power." Back on Earth, humanity was coming to terms with its new reality. The world had united in ways that seemed impossible before the invasion. Old conflicts seemed petty in the face of their shared survival. In a special session of the United Nations, President Collins addressed representatives from every nation. "The events of the past week have changed our place in the universe forever," she said. "We now know that we are not alone and that Earth has defenses we never fully understood. But with this knowledge comes responsibility." Dr. Alan Winter stood nearby, ready to explain the technical aspects of what had happened. Since the invasion, he and scientists around the world had been studying the network of emitters and the energy field they had helped create. "The defense system appears to be a natural feature of our planet," he explained to the assembled delegates. "The emitters we built simply helped activate and focus it. It's as if Earth itself rejected the invaders." "Are they gone forever?" asked the representative. "From Japan." "Not exactly," Alan replied. "Our readings suggest they exist in bubble dimensions adjacent to our reality. Essentially, they're frozen in time and space, unable to affect our world." This revelation caused both wonder and concern. Earth had defeated one alien empire. But how would others react? Would they see Earth as a threat or a potential ally? In orbit around Earth, the first diplomatic vessels from other civilizations began to arrive. Unlike the Draconian warships, these came with permission and announced their peaceful intentions. The first was a sleek silver ship from the Centauri Alliance. Ambassador Neria herself had come to meet with Earth's leaders and scientists. Her mission: to understand this world that had shocked the galaxy. As her shuttle descended toward the United Nations headquarters in New York, she looked out at the blue planet with new respect. The galaxy had misjudged these humans. They were not the primitives everyone had assumed. Earth was about to take its place among the stars, not as a conquered world or a minor player, but as a power that had done what no one thought possible: made an entire invasion fleet vanish without a trace. The question now was, what would humanity do with its newfound position in the galactic community? 6 months after the failed Draconian invasion, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Nations that had fought each other for centuries now worked together. Scientists who once competed now shared discoveries. The planet had united, not through conquest or fear, but through the shared understanding that they were part of something larger. Dr. Alan Winters stood at the window of his new office in the Global Defense Initiative headquarters in Geneva. The massive complex had been built in record time, bringing together researchers from every corner of the world. Their mission: to understand and protect Earth's unique defensive capabilities. Olivia entered the room, carrying a tablet filled with the latest data. "The network is stable," she reported. "We've mapped most of the emitters now, over 3,000 worldwide. Some are ancient, built into structures that are thousands of years old." Alan nodded, still amazed by what they had discovered. "And the pocket dimensions?" "Still there," Olivia replied. "We can detect them in orbit. Each contains one Draconian ship, perfectly preserved in a bubble of spacetime. They're like flies in amber, existing but unable to interact with our reality." The implications of this technology had revolutionized science overnight. Theories about space, time, and reality that had once been considered fringe were now mainstream. Physicists around the world were rewriting textbooks based on what they had learned from Earth's defense system. "The Centauri delegation is arriving. In an hour," Olivia reminded him. "They want to discuss the trade agreement." In the months since the invasion, Earth had established diplomatic relations with 17 alien civilizations. The Centauri Alliance had been the first to offer friendship, followed by others who recognized the value in being allies rather than enemies with a world that could make spaceships vanish. In the United Nations Assembly Hall, now expanded to include sections for non-human representatives, President Collins welcomed Ambassadress Neria and her delegation. The elegant Centauri diplomat had become a familiar face on Earth, appearing on news programs and even popular talk shows. "This trade agreement marks a new chapter in Earth's relationship with the galaxy," Collins said. "We offer not just resources, but a unique perspective that comes from our planet's special nature." Neria nodded in agreement. "The Centauri Alliance recognizes Earth's value not just as a trading partner, but as a stabilizing force in our region of the galaxy. Your defensive capabilities have already deterred potential conflicts." That was an understatement. News that Earth could make hostile ships disappear had prevented at least 3 interstellar conflicts in recent months. No one wanted to risk aggression against a world with such powers, or against its new allies. After the ceremony, Collins met privately with Neria and Alan to discuss more sensitive matters. "The Draconians have requested access to one of the pocket dimensions," Collins explained. "They want to attempt a rescue of their personnel." Alan shook his head. "We still don't fully understand how the dimensions work. Attempting to open one could be dangerous. It might release the ship or it might collapse the dimension entirely, destroying everything inside." Neria's luminous eyes showed concern. "The Draconian Empire is rebuilding its fleet. While they publicly claim peaceful intentions, our intelligence suggests otherwise." "Then we maintain our current position," Collins decided. "We'll continue research, but no attempts to open the dimensions without absolute certainty of safety." Aboard the newly commissioned Earth diplomatic vessel Earthrise, Captain Linda Martinez prepared for the ship's maiden voyage. The sleek spacecraft represented a blend of Earth's rapidly advancing technology and design contributions from their new alien allies. "Navigation systems ready, Captain," reported First Officer Kyle Bennett from his station. "Dimensional anchors secured." The dimensional anchors were Earth's contribution to spacecraft design, devices that could prevent a ship from being affected by dimensional anomalies similar to those that had trapped the Draconian fleet. Every ship that visited Earth now requested this technology, making it one of humanity's most valuable exports. Linda nodded, looking at the diverse crew of her ship. Scientists, diplomats, and security personnel representing dozens of Earth nations worked alongside a few non-human advisors. The Earthrise would be humanity's first official embassy to the stars. "Take us out, Lieutenant," she ordered. "Let's show the galaxy what humanity can truly offer." The Earthrise rose smoothly from its launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center, its advanced engines barely making a sound. Unlike the loud fossil fuel rockets of the past, this ship moved with a quiet grace that represented humanity's new approach to space. As they cleared Earth's atmosphere, Linda could see the faint shimmer of the defensive field that now permanently surrounded the planet, invisible most of the time, but always ready to activate if needed. She could also see the small distortions in space that marked the pocket dimensions, each containing a Draconian warship. They served as a silent reminder to the galaxy that the seemingly primitive blue planet was not to be underestimated. On the Draconian homeworld, Emperor Vexthor received the latest report from his spies on Earth. The humans were advancing faster than anyone had predicted, absorbing and improving upon technologies shared by their new allies. "They will be a true interstellar power within a decade," his intelligence chief warned. "Their natural defenses combined with their rapid technological advancement make them potentially more powerful than even the Centauri." The Emperor considered this information carefully. The loss of the invasion fleet had weakened his position, but he had survived the political fallout. Now he faced a choice: continue to view Earth as an enemy or seek a different path. Prepare a diplomatic mission, he finally decided. If we cannot defeat them, perhaps we can learn from them. It was not the Draconian way to admit defeat, but Vexthor had ruled long enough to recognize when adaptation was necessary. A galaxy with Earth as a power player would be different from the one he had known, but perhaps not worse. As the Earthrise approached the jump point that would take it to the Galactic Confederation headquarters, Linda Martinez sent one final message back to Earth. "Earthrise to control. We are proceeding to faster-than-light travel. Thanks to our allies' technology and our scientists' adaptations, we'll reach the Confederation in 3 days instead of the centuries it would have taken. With our old methods, on screens around the world, people watched the historic moment as humanity's first diplomatic vessel disappeared into the jump point, beginning a journey that would cement Earth's place among the stars." The planet that had once been considered a primitive backwater had revealed itself to be something else entirely. A world with ancient defenses and boundless potential. A world that had made an entire invasion fleet vanish without a trace, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy forever. The B. End.